Hi. Okay, so I'm Michal. I'm a blogger and I help people fulfill themselves. And I have Jonathan Kis-Lev with me. And Jonathan does a lot of things in his life, and I'm gonna let him tell what he does and who he is.
So first of all, Michal, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's fun to talk to you.
I'm actually really excited, and this is really exciting for me, and I hope that the viewers will get the best benefit from our talk. So I'm actually really excited. Who I am, I guess my name is Jonathan, and I am 31 years old, and I have made a living in the past decade, mostly from selling my art. I am an artist. And I've had much experience in many forms of art, actually, in acting and in dancing. And in recent years, I've been writing books, which I think is what brings us here.
Yes.
I'm really proud to have somehow managed to write I would say about 12 books in the last year, and in the last, say, 15 months, I probably wrote something like 14 books.
Wow.
It's actually, I have them here. I can brag. So.
Yeah, show us.
Oh my God.
Wow. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
All that in 1 year.
All of that in 1 year and a bit.
Wow. So I want to know everything about how you did that.
14.
I saw your wife actually. On your wife's Facebook, she wrote that you wrote 13 books in a year, and I was like, oh my God, how did he do that? I want to talk to him. So yes, this is what brought us here. And
I'll be happy.
How do you do that? Like from everything technically and time management wise, and tell me everything, and I'll go from there.
Okay, perfect. So I guess the most important thing is that I write every day.
Okay.
Every day.
Saturdays, Fridays,
Sundays. If I'm sick, I won't write, because I see sickness as a good sign of my body wanting to rest. So I won't write. But generally, I write a lot, and I try to write every day.
Do you have a fixed time set you write on, or is it like?
I would say that I try to begin writing at 8 in the morning, and I leave the office at about 4 o'clock. So I'm self-employed. I pay for myself. Generally, the books don't really pay for me yet. It's mostly the paintings that have paid for me to write. But the way I know life, the books will pay for me to, I don't know, to eat chocolate in a few years. So I write from 8 to 4, which is a lot. What's important for me here, Michal, is not to brag and say, I'm so committed, but actually to give inspiration. So I would say I began by writing something like 20 minutes a day. That was.
I wanna go back a bit. So this year, this has been your focus, actually, writing books. Is that the only thing you've been doing, or?
Yeah.
When you're a father, you have a baby, right? She's one.
That and being a father and being a husband and washing the dishes.
Yeah. But like career-wise, this is what you've been doing.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that explains it. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Otherwise, I don't even if it was my official career, I cannot see. You need to be a little bit cuckoo to be able to write so many books. So. Definitely that was my focus, and it was my passion, and it was my career, and it was my work, and it was my job, and I envision it bringing, winning the bread, bringing the money to the family. So that's an important consequence to my actions.
Okay, so you have a drive there that it will eventually give you money. Okay.
Totally.
And you write 8 hours a day. Wow, that's a lot. I love writing, and I write a lot, but 8 hours every day,
I try to rest in the middle of the day a little bit. I try to dance a little bit just so my body moves a little bit. But I try to write. I do research. Lots of my books require lots of research. So even if I'm not writing, the research I count it as time that is important. I don't do emails until 3 p.m. So I shut myself on the world. The cell phone is mostly on airplane mode. So it's on airplane mode, and sometimes I put it on like night mode, which enables my wife to call or the kindergarten or the baby to call, and that's it. So yeah, I think that I haven't read that book, but Brian Tracy speaks about eating the frog first. Or
I heard. I didn't read it either, but I heard about it. Yeah.
The expression is, it's like the one sentence sums up the whole book. It sounds like. So I know that if I begin the day by watching YouTube or by being in my email or checking my feed on Facebook, I'll be
big mistake.
Big mistake. There will be no Jonathan. There will be water at the end. So in the morning, I come here and the first thing I do is I put the music of the specific book that I write. Each book has like a soundtrack in my mind.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's really useful. It's one of the best tips that I can give. Wow. So say, let's take this book, Dear Tolstoy, Yours Gandhi. So in here, there are generally two storylines. One is the storyline of Tolstoy, and one is the storyline of Gandhi. So I downloaded 2 songs from YouTube. I downloaded them just so I won't have to go to YouTube because that's dangerous. And when I need to write a scene about Gandhi, I just put this old Indian music without words because words distract me. But all, very, very nice chanting or some sort of Indian music.
That's great.
Then when I go to write Tolstoy, a scene about Tolstoy, because the scene alternates, there are 2, kind of plot lines. There's some old Russian music, the guitar by the fire, it sounds like. So it's kind of odd, but that's what I listen to throughout the whole day.
Wow.
Hillel, when my wife, when she passes around the office or comes to visit me, it's a joke already because I basically listen to one song like 4 minutes or 5 minutes in repeat the whole day. So I like when it's the storyline, it has 2 areas or something like that. That's really good. But most of my books do not. And then I basically listen to the same song again.
So you're writing with music?
Exactly. It's I think I've read or heard that Shonda Rhimes, she is the author and the woman behind Grey's Anatomy, the TV show. Very successful TV show.
That's the only TV shows I watched in the last decade.
She's really good and she's really talented, and she's been, doing how many, seasons already, and she has another TV show and another TV show. She's an amazing woman. She wrote, I think, The Year of Yes, a very recommended book.
Oh, I heard about it. Okay.
Yeah, it's very good. Not in it, but somewhere else, I've read that she writes with music that will be the soundtrack of that scene. That will be the soundtrack of that episode. So I took that idea and I kind of do it, even though it's the same music all day. Now the good thing, because in the beginning, you're like, I cannot listen to this in repeat. But after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the moment I hear the music, I'm already in the story, or I'm already in the concept of the book, because some of the books are nonfiction, so like self-help. So I'm already in the concept of what I'm trying to teach, what I'm trying to pass.
Creating synapses in the brain.
Exactly. So that's actually
program in your brain. Actually, that's a great method to do many things. Actually, you connect music to a certain mood you want to be in, or a certain. That's great.
Exactly.
You write your books simultaneously? Like, are you working on a few books?
I try not to. I try not to. Generally, I sometimes have 2 books, but usually one of them weighs more. Like one of them is my main focus for the time.
So you could pass a few months listening to one song every day, 8 hours.
Yes. So I'm a little nuts, right? That it's important to stress it, to say, Danielle,
Can you still hear it, or is it like on the background? And
it's in the background. It's in the background. Sometimes, like if I go to a restaurant, like to a cafe or something like that, just to get out of the office, I put it on my headphones. But generally, yeah, it's the same. It's the same song. Now, it's important for me to stress I'm a little odd, and I cherish it. I embrace it. This is who I am. Danielle Steele, the author of over 100 books. Some people relate to them or refer to them as cheap. But I actually have read one and I thought it was pretty good. So I kudos for her. She's an inspiration for me. And she said that she woke up because she had several children. When she was beginning her writing career, she woke up at 4 a.m. And she would write from 4 to 6 or something like that each day. And that's how she was able to write. So she was a little bit crazy as well. So I think that I try to find these kind of crazy inspirations for myself and to say, oh, I can do that as well.
yeah, wow. And you can't, when, like, I write too, but I write when I have inspiration. And when you actually saying inspiration is something that comes when I sit from 8 to 4. Like, you make the inspiration come. How do you do that?
Yeah, well,
you have days that no inspiration, or inspiration tells you to do other things, or
you see, I've been an artist painting for 10 years. And
I want to emphasize that because you mentioned it before, but we didn't really talk about it. So just to people listening that maybe don't know, your career was art, right?
Yeah.
You made money from art. You decided you're going to make money from your art, and you did that. That was a big dream, and you made it come true.
Exactly. And that's actually, it gave me the confidence to come to the writing world and to say, you know what, it's going to work. Even if it's hard in the beginning, it's going to work. Because painting, in my eyes, is a little bit more difficult than writing. So what happened in my painting career was that I saw that I had to produce. I had to paint paintings in order to make a living, in order to buy bread in the grocery store. So I realized I guess I became very intimate with myself, with my self-talk, and I realized that that inspiration, and this will be a little bit, inspiration is actually always there.
Okay.
Inspiration is always there. It is waiting. Elizabeth Gilbert wrote about it in Big Magic, and Stephen Pressfield wrote about it in The War of Art, an amazing book, short. I highly recommend it.
The World or War?
The War. Yeah.
Okay.
The War of Art. He really great short book. He talks about resistance, this inner tendency to do anything but the thing that you need to do. So he talks about procrastination and wanting to do it perfectly and being in the mood and all kinds of excuses like that. And he says it's okay. All of this are resistance with a capital R. Each time he writes resistance, he writes it with a capital R. So he says that's resistance. And the muse only comes when you put resistance aside and you say, okay, I'm now ready. So he actually is a really cool guy. He has a little sculpture of a cannon, like from a war. So he directs the cannon at him as if like he needs to produce. It's like a gun pointing to his face. You need to produce, and that's the way he writes. And he writes many.
That helps, doesn't that stress the hell out of him? And
I don't know. He knows what works for him. I don't have any cannon here and any rifle or anything. But I would say that inspiration is always there, Michal. And what my goal is to clean my channel so that inspiration can pour. And it's not easy. It's not easy because so often, this is actually very important. So often my voice inside me tells me that's the lousiest sentence you've ever written. Oh my God, this paragraph is just embarrassing. oh, this chapter, you just repeated yourself again and again. You call yourself a writer? So this voice is my best friend. It comes every day. It nags me sometimes several times a minute.
Yes.
And it's okay. It's okay. I give
Right, but you continue to write.
Exactly, and I know that it has a name. The name is resistance, and I know it's only fear trying to block me from my destiny and from giving myself to the world. There is lots of fear, so it's only fear, and I try to say, it's okay. This is a sucky sentence, but now I'm now finished it, and now, but in the next sentence, and now I'm in the next sentence. So. I think what we all need to realize is that even the greatest writers and the greatest artists in all fields have tremendous fears. Tremendous.
Yes.
In my teens, I was an actor. I acted a lot on TV and theater, and each day, because I was in theater every evening for when I was 14, 15, 16, my belly was just horrible, and I had to go, and I had diarrhea each evening. It was like very embarrassing and not fun. And I told an older actor, a very famous one, that I feel terrible, and when is it going to pass? And he told me, my dear friend, the day it will pass will be a dangerous day. Don't look for that day. So, and it was empowering for me to hear that. It basically means that everyone have fears, and fear is not going to stop me. It's going to be there, but it's not going to stop me.
Yeah, we do with the fear. We don't wait for the fear to go. We can't wait for the fear to go.
Exactly. It doesn't go.
Doesn't go.
If anything,
sometimes it's quieter. When we do, I think it's less. Like, I think the more you stand still, the louder it is actually.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree.
And also when you develop and when you're about to do like a leap, also it comes really.
Definitely. I actually feel like this whole year has been a year of a leap, and the fears all the time, they come. So yeah, I wouldn't say that they go away, because I think that's selling a lie to yourself. So I've given up me wanting them to go away, all the fears. I actually wrote a book about it.
12 books, 14 books, you wrote so many things.
This one is one of my favorite. It's called The Fear of Success. And you see a man running from the crown. Yeah. It's like we are afraid of wearing the crown. We are afraid of that.
Yeah.
So it's called How to Stop Sabotaging Your Destiny. So this book is
basically important. Sounds like a really important book.
Yes, actually, it was important for me to write it, and I get good feedback from the people who read it. One of my favorite parts in this book is a dialogue that I conduct with the fear. I really tell him, so what are you afraid of, fear? And he tells me, eventually after I boil it down, he's just, the fear is always about being rejected or not being loved.
Yes.
And I say, I don't reject you. I love you. I'm here for you. Yeah. And that kind of calms my fear down a little bit, even though it's, it doesn't go away. So.
Yeah, but I think also just to realize that when we don't do things we want because of fear of being rejected, we're rejecting ourselves.
Exactly.
So anyway, we're going to be rejected. We might as well just, do the things we want to do and not reject ourselves.
Exactly. And ultimately, we all, I think Brené Brown said it, we all want love and we all want connection. And the only way to get love and connection is through going past the fear of being rejected.
Yes.
So
that's true.
Yeah.
So I go back to what you said before, the 8 to 4. So it's even before, sitting with the fears and, putting aside resistance. You actually gave a frame to your inspiration, or not to your inspiration, to your work. You look at it as work and you don't wait to inspiration for inspiration to come to sit and write, you say, I'm going to sit and write, and inspiration will come, or it's there and I'm gonna find it.
Exactly. You know, it's, I wrote a book about that as well. I wrote a book called Masterwork, and it redefines the concept of art. We grew up with the concept of art being, you know, this something that's very elusive. You need to be a genius. The muse comes to you. You need to work hard for it. It goes away. You need to suffer. You might as well cut your ear. You will never sell a painting while you are alive. All kinds of crap like that. So I grew up with that. And by the age of 21, when I finished the army and I wanted, you know, to become an artist, I had to re-educate myself. And I had to reread many of the books and the biographies of the greatest artists. And I learned that most of them that we know of were actually very studious. You know, they were very kind of Germanic in their way of working. Many of them had apprentices, like assistants. They looked at it as work. They knew how to communicate with buyers. They knew how to work either for the church or for patrons. So there were, even Van Gogh, who we say, you know, he was just like, you know, he wasn't. He wrote long letters to his brother, and his brother was his patron, Theo. He paid for him. So basically he had money, he could survive, and he provided. He actually painted lots of paintings to appease his brother. So I think what I had to do early on, and this is what helps me so much right now in the books, because if I just came to be writing from a career in, you know, computers or from any other career, I wouldn't have been able to write so many books. I've been writing for a year or two, but I've been an artist for over a decade, an artist, a professional artist. And I'm saying that not to brag, but to give inspiration as to what can happen to your brain. Generally today, when I see or hear artists say, oh, you know, it's so difficult, oh, you know, blah, 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 I don't listen to it. I reject it. I think it's not true. They have been selling themselves a lie that is just not productive for them, you know?
So how did you reprogram your minds to think differently?
Thank you for that question. Actually, the best thing I ever did was to feed my mind stories and narratives by famous and successful artists. So right now, when it comes to writing, I have a playlist, a YouTube playlist of something like about 30 videos that I put together, like the best videos that I could find, of interviews with writers that I appreciate. And they all speak about the fear, and they all speak about overcoming the fear, and they all speak about the fact that you can always edit and re-edit a book, and a book is never finished, it's never complete, it's never perfect, but you have to send it off anyway and continue to. So that was the reprogramming. So I've been doing that for the past 2 years, year and a half with writing. And when it came to painting, I actually read tons of biographies of like real artists. So not what your teachers at school would tell you, but I actually read what they wrote, like their autobiographies. Like Marc Chagall wrote a book called My Life. I had to read it and see, you know, what he's talking about. And I also went and met many successful artists. It was important for me. It's something that most people are shy of doing. Most people want to do. But I think it's really important to find a mentor. And I found several mentors. One of them is Avi Ben Simhon. The other one is David Gerstein. The third one is Ilan Hassan. They became my teachers. And all of them, all these three artists are artists that have been making a living for decades and have been making very nice living. Ilan Hassan has a beautiful house near where you live in Jaffa, 2 or 3 stories, gorgeous, wow. Big, from the paintings. And David Gerstein has a factory with something like 30 or 40 artists working for him. And Avi Ben Simchon is a kibbutznik. So basically, he didn't have money of his own. And when the kibbutz went privatized and there wasn't money, he went and started his own career and made it. So they became my mentors. So my recommendation would be to find mentors, whether it's physically meeting them or through YouTube, like I'm watching with the writers. But you need to find your mind and reprogram your mind with success stories.
Yeah, well, hopefully someone will put this video on his playlist to listen to you.
Yeah, that would be great.
But you really surround yourself with inspiration and teachers and people that are actually doing what you want to do and learning from success of others.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. And you've actually went to learn with them physically, or like you had like sessions with them, or how
the way it worked mostly was through me complimenting them, really. Because all three didn't want to meet me, mind you.
They didn't want to meet you? I didn't.
Oh, who am I? I was in my early 20s and they were busy artists, sometimes bosses. Why would they want to meet you? But I complimented them. I read their biographies. I read everything I could about them. I became an expert when it came to them. And I asked them questions that were intelligent. And I listened. And I gave them their attention. And I bought them small gifts. And I came and visited them. And I listened. And I helped. I actually helped without pay, doing several things for them. And in return, they gave me their advice, a few minutes of advice here and there when I brought my paintings. Oh, this one is good, but the composition isn't good. Do this, or you should really move, and paint this way, or, stuff like that.
Okay,
But it wasn't sessions. It was like they didn't become my teachers. They were my mentors.
Okay, well, that's great. Interesting.
Yeah, and I write about it. I don't want to push my books too much, but what can I say? They're good books. I write, it's such a big pile, it almost falls. I write about it in the book called Master Work. And the subtitle is A Guide for Writers, Musicians, all artists on turning from amateurs into masters.
Oh, wow.
So this one is a book for everyone that wants to create, but doesn't know how or is afraid or stuff like that. So I write a lot about the importance of mentors, and I give these examples and stuff.
Good, that's an important book. So about inspiration and muse, does it visit you like after 4 p.m. or? I could be on the beach, in the shower, working on something else, talking to people, and then I want to write about it. And then I take notes, but I can't always do it, at that moment. So I'm wondering how it works for you. Like, don't you have ideas all over the day, or?
I have lots of ideas all the time. I just listened recently sometimes when I make food, I put the computer and I listen to interviews and stuff like that. I just recently listened to an interview conducted by Tim Ferriss, the one that wrote 4 Hour Workweek. He interviews Paulo Coelho, the author of The Alchemist. And Paulo Coelho says, well, I have many ideas each day after I finish writing. All evening I have ideas, and at night I wake up, I have to write all the ideas. I write all the ideas. Then in the morning I go to the computer. After I procrastinate and it's time for me to start writing, I look at my notes and it's all rubbish. I cannot do anything with it. So I write it for my feeling, but never did I use the notes. I have to see inspiration comes.
Actually, it's true. I have so many draft, and usually when I sit to write a post, it's a new one.
Of course.
Usually it's not something that I have in my draft.
Of course.
Sometimes I find something that I wrote a year ago, and then actually I write it, but it's because it came again and again and again, not because I looked. Then I can maybe I check to see what I wrote last year. Maybe there's like one nice sentence that I can use, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
So you just need to empty the head because you can't sleep with all that inspiration.
exactly.
You
No,
have to like put it to the paper and go to sleep with it.
exactly. I am actually really proud to say that that while I do think about my work a lot in the evening, most of the time I am able to, calm my head down,
Yeah.
fall asleep easily, and I just know that it's really funny because sometimes I make a whole scene. The next scene I write intricately, and everything is intricately in my mind. And then I go the next day and the scene turns out differently.
Yeah.
So I've
Can you
learned.
write it when like that's what I'm
No,
interested in.
no, in the evening I didn't write it. No, no.
You don't even like take notes on your lap, like
No, because I don't trust it anymore. I feel like a little bit like I was fooled so many times. So I don't trust it anymore. It's like, nah, bagadaba. But the idea will come, and everything will be, I will have it from the beginning to the end, and I will be writing in my head something like 5 pages. And then in the morning, it won't be useful. So I've learned to look at it with compassion. And I also think it's important. Like, I think that it's a part of the process, because then when I come in the morning, I write something else that has been building on these ideas. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I am currently in the time of my life that I do not take notes. I do not take notes because
not even of things you have to do
exactly with things that I used to have an Excel spreadsheet that would kill you, with like 240 things, and I would sort them according to level. I would multiply. It was like weird. I guess I became jaded, like tired of lists and tired of grabbing onto ideas and stuff like that. I really believe that I am doing the best that I can, and that God, inspiration, intuition will come, trusting that I'm trying to clear my channel, and that it will just trust me. And it's interesting. Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic writes about some famous songwriter who was driving, and then this song came to him, and he said to the song, "Sorry, I'm driving. If it's important for you, come when I'm writing, or go to another."
part in that.
Yes. And I respected that, because I grew up on inspiration is God.
Yeah.
Art is the most important. It's more important than bread and than sleep and than relationships. And I don't think so. I don't think so anymore. I think it's important to eat. It's important to sleep. It's important to be in good relationships. So I think about intuition and inspiration and muse that I'm their best friend. And sometimes, even when my best friend calls, I do not pick up. Yeah. I pick up when it's good time for me, and when I can actually be attentive and write. Yeah. In my cell phone, like a madman. No, I write by the computer. You come again. That's basically what I.
I'm interested about that point, because I take notes. I take notes about everything in my head. I do GTD. Probably many people that listen to us know about this technique, which talks about first clearing the head, and then you take notes, and then you organize them. And actually, I don't really look at my list throughout the day. I know what I have to do, and I don't have time to look at the notes because I'm doing other things. But just the act of writing everything down clears my head. I can't imagine not writing. Like, I'm curious, how do you have quiet and peace in your mind when you're not taking the things off your head?
Well, first of all, I will not lie. I don't think that I have great quiet and peace in my mind. And I went to 10 days Vipassana meditation, and I was like, I didn't have peace in my mind. There were moments, glimpses of emptiness, but generally I don't have peace in my mind.
Peace, I'm talking about, when you're going to bed, are you not remembering that you have to, I don't know, call somebody or...
So there are two things. First of all, I trust that if it's important, it shall come and visit me again. trust.
Say you line like going to bed, and then you have this thought, I have to take the car to the garage.
Yeah.
Okay? Tomorrow, or not tomorrow, like
Yeah.
until next week.
Yeah.
What do you, like, do you just say to it, come back tomorrow, remind me?
I heard a lecture from this Israeli guy called Amir Hardouf, and he said in the lecture, because it was a person in the audience asked him this exact same question, and I heard that lecture 5 years ago, and he said, I do not turn the light on and write, and I do not take my phone and type, and I do not take my note. I do not. I trust that if it's important, it will come, and if it's not important, then why bother? So I liked him saying that. I remember I had a flashlight in my mind. It was like, whoa, this is good. This is good.
Yeah.
So currently, I truly, honestly, what I trust that if it's important, it will come tomorrow at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, 10, it will come.
Okay. Actually, I don't have the thoughts before I go to bed because I write it during the day. I write it during the day. When I go to bed, I don't have like new thoughts about things I have to do. But this is what I'm wondering. Don't you have so many thoughts before going to bed of things that your brain is trying to remind you of? Like,
I have, sometimes it takes me time to fall asleep because I'm enjoying the juice of imagining what I shall write.
okay.
And I'm enjoying the juice of thinking of how the next cover is going to look for the next book. Or I'm enjoying the juice of, a whole different story. Oh my God, it's going to be. Eventually after 40 minutes, an hour, I'm like, man, come on. This is a waste of time. So then I try to focus on my nostrils and my breath, and I breathe heavily, and eventually, hopefully, I fall asleep. I think it's very funny. The more I work regularly during the day, and the more committed I am, and the more exhausted I am by 4 p.m., the less attacked I am by ideas in the evening.
Yeah, because you gave them their share.
I feel like I've been used up.
Yeah.
I've been used to leave me alone.
Yeah, they used you, and now you can rest.
Exactly.
So during those 8 hours, what do you do? Is it like really 8 hours of writing, or you said research. Now you talked about design sometimes, but can it actually be days and days of typing, 8 hours a day, or?
It's very interesting that you're saying that. I treat my hands like those of a pianist. I have a cream by my bed, and I put cream in the evening, and I do this, and I do that, and I do the all kind of, because it's my instrument, and I also try and treat my body in a respectful way. I think it's very hard and challenging to write 8 hours. I take a break in the middle of the day.
Eyes also.
Eyes, of course. I pee every 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. I pee constantly. I guess I am writing a lot. Like if you look at the number of words, and one of my friends, because I write it on Facebook, one of my friends calculated and saw that I wrote a word every few seconds. It depends on the day. Some days are wholly dedicated to research. Other days are wholly dedicated to writing, sometimes, corresponding if it's something really important. But generally, more often than not, I write, and I try to write in this time frame. And when my head begins to hurt or something, I go for a short walk, and in the walk, I begin to smell the next chapter or and then I rush back. I try to write. I believe it's my gift. I believe it's my calling. I believe that not writing is a disservice to humanity, and I don't feel like I have the privilege to avoid the muse. So I really try to give it the best I have.
So when you sit down, like we talked about it before, but I want really to go.
I'm so happy that you're asking. This is going to be really useful for anyone who does any art. So it's great.
So, like, it's 8 in the morning. You came to the office. You're sitting in front of the computer, and like, does it always come or?
So
like, okay, so I understand. When you have doubts, you say to them, "Okay, I'm gonna write anyway." But do you have those times when you just don't know what to write? Like when you have a blank?
Yeah, for sure. What I do is several things. First of all, I put the music on.
Yes. Oh, that, yeah.
It's very important. It's actually, it gets me in the mood. It's like...
Then you start visualizing it, actually, you kind of go into that world that you're writing about? Or?
Sorry, the question?
When you see, like, you hear the music, you also start seeing things and visualizing. Like
I would like to tell you that I do, but I don't. I just hear the music and I'm like the mice from Pavlov. And I'm like ding 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 ding. No, it's not the mice, it's the dogs. I'm like ding ding. Where's the food?
Yeah, it triggers that. Yeah, that's what we talked about before about programming.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like when I hear it, I'm like, okay, this reminds me of. And if the muse doesn't come, then the mode I go into is editing. I go to my previous chapter, and I begin editing it or reading through it. And usually by the time that I will finish that chapter, I will have a vague idea. It's just vague. It's not clothed yet, but it's an idea. And if I'm worshiping the muse, then I would put that idea down. I really would. I would not criticize it, and I would not think that it's not good enough, because that's not the muse, that's resistance. Every thought I have, even the smallest, the weirdest, that's the muse. It whispers. It doesn't shout, it whispers. So what I will do is I will be, okay, so that's a weird thought, but I will write it. And immediately when I write it, resistance will say, oh, disgusting, this is so stupid and so foolish. Who do you think will read that? And I will be like, okay, what's the next one? Okay, so I'll be, and eventually, by the end of the hour, there will be something written.
I have to say about that to people that maybe, like, readers of my blog that might be listening to this, because many of them are interested in channeling, that it's actually like that. It is channeling, because when you channel, it doesn't matter if you channel a book or music or like information to pass to others, it's a whisper, it doesn't shout.
Yeah.
And when I teach people how to channel, I tell them, if you have to, the first word you hear, and then you start writing it, and then the rest comes.
Yes.
You have to trust, and then the rest will come.
Yes.
And it's exactly how you described it. So I had to.
That's actually a great compliment for me. So thank you. I do feel like it's somewhat.
I think channeling, people think about it as being such a wowie and a big deal, but most of us, like all of us, are channeling to a certain point, certain things. Like people get their music from somewhere, or suddenly I have this thought, or and you just really described it in a way that.
Great.
Really well. So.
Great, thank you so much. Actually, I take it as a big compliment also when it comes to the description. You're just telling me, Jonathan, you described it really well. What I try to do in my books is I really envision the reader as a friend who is sitting in front of me. And I really try to make it a conversation. Sometimes I even put question marks, and I put funny, hey? And that's in my non-fiction books, not Tolstoy and whatever. When I write non-fiction, I really try to make it a conversation, and it's a great compliment that the readers of the books. It's really funny, actually, Michal. People write to me, it's amazing. I feel like it's like you've been talking to me. I feel like we've been sitting in this. Just yesterday, someone wrote it on a YouTube video. I feel like you're talking to me when you're writing. I feel like you're so not judgmental, and you would be accepting of me because that's something I'm working on myself, like accepting myself.
Yeah.
So people feel that. So I think it's really important also when, at least for me, when it comes to writing a nonfiction, to have the ideal client or the ideal reader in my mind. And honestly, I have ideal readers for each book. Like I have this book that
That's also true, I think, for any, not even art, everything is art, but to anything we do, like we give from ourselves, we want to think who is the person. Like
Right.
now when I'm interviewing you, I think about the people that might be interested in this talk, like the people I think might be interested in.
And you're trying to channel questions.
Them. Yeah, and of me.
Exactly.
Exactly. I'm interested too.
Exactly. I wrote this book called Brag Woman Brag, and it's for women to have more confidence. And I wrote it to my wife Hallel. She didn't read it yet, but I wrote it in my mind. I was conversing with her.
But I think, like, reading her post on Facebook, I think it passing.
Yes, exactly. It's passing. That's great. Thank you.
Even though she didn't read it.
Thank you. Women that read this book tell me, I really feel like you're talking to me. It's amazing how you know what I'm thinking, and it's because I've been really trying to put myself in the body of a woman, and I really feel like women generally have been treated less fairly than men. They've been less encouraged to voice their opinions. They've been less encouraged to go against the stream. So it's kind of nasty. Similarly, men aren't encouraged to express their emotions, to cry, etc. So.
Yeah, society is messing up both of, like, everybody, not just women,
exactly.
not just men. But
exactly. But society is
different way.
Society is improving. I'm actually.
We need to build a new society. Each of us.
As we speak, actually.
So how do you choose your next book? Like, how long does it take you to write a book? Let's start with that.
I think it takes about anywhere between 3 weeks and 5 weeks, something like that.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot.
Never written a book, but it sounds like not a lot.
I guess the first one took me half a year, about 2 years ago, and then the second one took me about 2.5 months. And then, so now,
that's important. That's a good remark, because it takes more time in the beginning, and that could be discouraging. And we need to remember that it gets faster every time.
Of course. This is why also I try to avoid these types of questions often. People ask me, how many words do you write a day? I'm like, in the beginning, I used to write not many words. So the beginning is really important. When we talk about a space, like a spaceship that goes into space from Earth, it burns most energy in the beginning before it goes up. Once it goes up, then the energy, it's not non-comparable, the amount of fuel that it burns just to launch. So
that's true,
it's important for all of us to remember that, whenever we start a new skill or a new habit or a new anything, that it's going to be difficult in the beginning. I feel like I'm still in the beginning.
And use more energy,
Yes.
It requires more, and then it starts to flow.
Yes. So the first book took me definitely half a year. And back at the time, I used to paint, and I had this small company, and I had all kinds of, entrepreneurial stuff that I was doing. But it took me about half a year, and it wasn't very good. I wouldn't tell you which one it is, just because I do think it's very good. But I think in comparison to the way that I'm writing right now, it's more like buttery. Back then, it was more like a condom. It was like I didn't really know how to express myself. There was a little bit of a barrier. But now it's much better.
And how do you choose the next idea, or does it choose you?
First of all, I want to compliment you for not forgetting the question. Like you really want to do it. It makes me feel like
I'm curious.
It makes me feel like it's valuable. So like you actually are curious. I would say that I never know which is going to be the next book. I have something like 5 finalists that are competing against one another. in my mind. And sometimes I would even begin writing one of them. And then after chapter 2, the other one will win. And when the other one will win, it will be like all the way, boom, 2 weeks and boom. Like the one I'm writing right now a book about Helen Keller and the deaf-blind Helen Keller and her teacher, Annie Sullivan. And it's a very long book, actually, that I finished yesterday.
Wow,
Zalto. It was an amazing journey. Craziness.
So do you know already the next book, or?
Do I know already? I don't, actually. I don't.
Do you have like a phase in between books that you're like, how does it work?
Sometimes there is, but there isn't, it's not too many weeks. I would say it's about 2 weeks in between. And right now I know that the next thing I need to do is I need to edit the book, and then I need to kind of finish, finalizing things and pictures and
during like those, like the weeks between books, you do like editing stuff and like
uploading and stuff like that.
Yeah, like more technical.
Yeah.
Okay, like not vacation, but not.
Yeah, not vacation. But at the same time, mostly like in between editing, I would start to YouTube, or I would start to read and do research for things that I think might be the next book.
Yeah, that's really inspiring for me, because it really connects to the list or non-list, because I have always so many projects on the same time and thinking about, and so many that I can't do now, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that in a few weeks when I finish that. And I think that's why I have to have lists, but it sounds like you really simplified it into, like, you have a big goal, which is making money from, like, making a living from your calling, which is writing. Like, you narrowed it to something really specific.
Yeah.
And then in that frame, you have this one book you're working on right now, and then this is what needs to be done today. Like, today I'm researching, or today I'm writing, or I'm editing, or I might. So that's a lot of trust, and like, that's a lot of trust. Like, you know your focus, you know when you go, where you're going, and in that you trust that the way will show itself, and it always does. And you're not trying to plan, or like, I don't know how to say it in English, תוכנית שנתית, yearly.
Like an annual planning?
Yeah, annual plan. You don't have an annual plan, you don't have a quarterly plan, you just have the plan of the day.
So it's only
the mission of the life. But
I used to be the most freakish person when it came to Excel spreadsheets and annual and 5 years goals, and quarterly goals, and every quarter, every 3 months, I would take a few days off, like a weekend or long weekend. I would tell her about the goals, and I would even grade myself in each field. And I had 7 areas of my life. I actually did that, and sometimes I haven't been doing it for about 2 years, and I do not miss it. But I would say that it was a stage that I had to go through, perhaps, in order to get here. But I don't know. I think every person has their own,
Yeah, I think it changes with time. But I think that annual plans or quarterly maybe work, but annual I think don't work. I was never able to do neither annual, and especially not 5-year plan. I cannot even start to imagine that. But even the quarterly plans, I can decide I'm going to do that, and then a better idea comes.
Yes, exactly. I think it's important.
But you choose one, like, you're not doing a few at the same time, and then you don't need lists. It's amazing.
Yeah, I guess I haven't thought about it really. I haven't thought about it really. I think that's ultimately the best thing that had happened to me in the past 2 years was me developing a sense of an intimacy with this God that I call intuition. So basically, whenever I fight with Hallel, my wife, or whenever I have a bad day writing or headache or stuff like that, it's always because I don't listen to my intuition. So I've been trying to develop this trust in this nudge, this voice within, and it's actually a challenging thing because we haven't been taught to do that. We've been taught to do anything but that.
Yeah.
But I would say that the more I trust my intuition, because my intuition told me not to do things, and I did, and I went kaboom. My intuition told me not to go into the relationship with this specific girl, and I went and I was boom. And then it told me not to take this art project in abroad, which was a project of $100,000. It was a huge project, and the money brightened my eyes and blocked the view. And I said yes. And my intuition told me, no, please don't.
When you said yes, did you feel a quetch?
I felt a big fetch. I felt like it was the wrong thing to do. And I paid for it. First of all, I got the $100,000 and it cost, for my money, something like $100,000. So it's like eventually it broke even. So there wasn't.
Yeah, I have to say, because I call it the inner ways. I teach how to connect to the inner ways. And, I always say that when, intuition is not logical, and many times we have all this, like intuition, what you call intuition sees things that we can't see with our logic eyes, and it can tell you, here you're going to have money, but it's not going to tell you you're going to lose the money, or it's a dead end, it's not going to lead anywhere, it's going to cost you more eventually. Like, it can't see that. Logic cannot see that.
Exactly.
It thinks beyond logic, but something inside us knows. Like, knows what's our path and what's not on our path. And what's not on our path, even if we make money there, we can hold to it because it's not really ours. And
Totally. And I believe that I've done such a colossal mistake.
It's so hard to listen because I think what makes it difficult for most people to listen to the intuition, for me, for all of us, is that we're so used to think about what can make us money and what people will think about it and what sounds right to others and to us even, but not what we feel is right for us. And
exactly.
Doesn't always make sense.
Exactly. And I completely agree with what you're saying. And I would say that if you don't listen to your intuition, eventually you will pay. And I about 2 years ago paid such a big sum of money and some of emotional stability. I called from abroad because I had in this art project, I had the supervisor who was Adolf Hitler #2. He was just like not nice, not a good man, very emotionally unstable, I guess he was. And I was just miserable, and I was for a whole month stranded, supervising 3 artists that I brought with me from Israel to this project abroad. And I was miserable. Like I was miserable. I would have preferred to be in jail. At least there I would have my peace of mind. Yeah. Here I had to be a boss and to encourage them to do something that it wasn't in alignment with me. I called and I bawled. I cried to Hallel. Like I had my nostrils were everything. My whole face was fluids. And I think that when I climbed on the airplane, I actually wasn't sure that he wouldn't come after me to the airport and tell me the project isn't done, you need to stay extra, because he already belated my flight one week. It was supposed to be 3 weeks and it was 4. When I climbed on the airplane and the airplane took off, I was like, all right, listen, intuition, listen. I will do everything you tell me, but just don't pass me through this again. And intuition has been telling me to write. And it's been telling me to write my peace activism story. And I was like, I don't have anything to share. And I'm actually not that big of a peace activist. There are peace activists that are more active than me. And, what do I even have to and she told me, like, intuition in my eyes is a she. She told me, you need to write. So I was like, okay, I'll write. Just don't pass me through that hell again. So I wrote. And that led me to another book and another book. And she still tells me to write. And the moment that she will tell me, stop writing, I will do something else.
Okay. So that's how you started writing. Did you write before or just?
I think I was always very kind of total of a personality. Like I'm very dedicated to whatever I do. When I was painting, in the years that I was painting, I was mostly painting. I listened to books, I read some books, I wrote a little bit, but not much. Not much. I always knew that I could write, but the problem with me and many other talented people is that they are multi-talented. I guess that you're the same way, and it's a some sort of a problem. And if you don't have intuition and you go with what you're good at, then you're lost. And I think that I've learned through the hard way, as I told you, to just listen to my intuition.
But you're multi, but unlike many other multis, including myself, you are focusing into one talent at a time. Like it sounds
at a time.
And of course, you're using your experience from other talents you've mastered.
Yes, actually, I feel really blessed. I grew up with a family that I would consider poor. So we didn't have much money. We were 5 children, parents that are immigrants, Russian immigrants. At least I felt poor when it came to my fellow friends in school and stuff like that. So I wanted to work from a very early age. And in my teens, I did lots of acting, as I told you. The experience in acting was something that I took with me to painting.
Yeah.
I took the discipline. I woke up to be on TV. I woke up at 5 a.m. to be picked up by the shuttle, and we would drive to Herzliya or to some studios, and I would have to memorize the text, and so it taught me lots of good things, being poor. So earning money in my teens helped me with my so one thing leads to the other. So
I think it's really important for people to know that, because so many times people are looking for their destiny, and actually I believe you don't really need to look. You just need to follow your intuition, and then it shows you the way. Like you've been doing acting, and that prepared you for your next step, which was painting, and then 10 years of painting led you into making like a writing career more professionally. And like every time you learn, not just you, all of us, we learn the skills that prepare us for the next stage, and we don't always see that when we go on the way, but there is a way.
And it's the same with relationships.
Yeah, like each relationship prepares us for the next. And
Totally. I wouldn't have been able to be with Hillel had I not been in the 4 or 5 relationships that I had. Each one gave me the tools to
Yeah, like so many times we want to find Mr. or Mrs. Right, Right.
Yeah.
Immediately, but no, we have to learn and develop.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I think it's a brilliant idea that is applicable to all fields, and that idea is that our things evolve, our destiny evolves, our relationships evolve. I was once
evolve.
I was
evolve. We can have like better or more suitable things in our lives.
Exactly.
Or we evolve. Like I think the main thing is that we need to be in evolvement and development and self-development.
Yes, and whenever we get depressed because something doesn't work, it will lead us to a better something next. Yes. I always believe in that.
Yeah, when a door closes, there's another one that opened. We just need to move our eyes and look.
Exactly. I think Helen Keller said that, actually.
Yeah?
Helen Keller said that the universe always opens another door for us. The problem is that we always stand like attached to the door that is closed.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, we're trying to hold on to things that are finished, and then we don't see that something else can begin. Yeah. Great. So do you want to say something more to wrap this up?
Let's see. Let's look at the time. No, I think I'm actually, I think what I would like to do is to add sort of encouragement to whoever watched this. Because I think that if you are already at this time, which is about an hour into the interview, you have taken the time to listen and to absorb the ideas. So I would first of all, firstly, I would like to say kudos and good job. And the second of all, I would like to say that I do not have all the answers, and neither do you, Michal. We're learning. I think that the reason that we are here is because we are willing to manage our fears. We are willing to take our fears in the hand and not wait to the day that we will have all the knowledge and that everything will be in order and, we will just feel empowered and then I don't have any clue what I'm doing in my life. These books are experimentation. My paintings are but experimentation and it's foolish doodles that have been making a living for me. So I would say that my encouragement would be to not wait and at the same time to really be easy on yourself. No one expects you to jump tomorrow and to write 14 books. But we do expect you to really follow your love and follow your intuition. That's where the money comes. That's where the happiness comes. Everything follows from there. So even though you haven't been taught that, and even though you probably think that your story is different and unfortunate and your situation, we don't understand your situation, I would say that my encouragement would be just begin a little bit, just 20 minutes or 5 minutes, or just go to that class, or just experiment just a little bit, just lean into it. That will be my encouragement. I'm just leaning into the books and look what happens. But my encouragement will be to just lean into the thing that you feel inside.
Yeah.
You don't really
lean and I think dedicate. Like you really take responsibility on your calling. It's like, it's not only the intuition and muse, it's, you take responsibility there. You say, this is how I need to ground this. It's not just like, I'm the one here grounding this intuition into like physical.
It's true. Yeah. You need to be committed. But I would say that oftentimes when we think of the commitment required, it is so overwhelming that we don't begin. So I would again, say that, I'm not sure where you're going, Michal. You might be going to having a television show of your own. You might be going to having, several books of your own. But what you're doing right now is you're following your own, this guy is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know either where I'm going.
Exactly.
But I know what I want to do. I know what I want to give the world, but I don't know how it's going to manifest even next month. Like I have ideas, but.
And I think that what's inspiring is that you're doing it. You're doing even the small things that you're not sure where they lead. And I think that's something that I would like to be left with from this interview. I don't know where this interview is going to lead.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. Hoping it's going to help people and influence.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure it already does.
Yeah, great. I'm really happy to have had you here.
Wow.
I'm really happy for that summary you just did. It really sums up everything, I think, that I want to say.
Thank you. I really
glad you said that. I'm really glad you, how do you say that, agreed to interview.
It was a pleasure, and I thank you so much for being, such a great interviewer, and for having great questions, and for repeating the question when I didn't answer it. I was like, she listens. I liked it.
Actually, maybe I should say about that. We've been talking about fears, and I've been wanting to interview for a while. It took me a while to start, and I was telling myself I don't know how to interview, and I don't know how to listen. Yeah, I've actually been saying that to myself. And then I just, you're not the first interview I'm doing. I think you're the third. But after the first one, I've realized I can do it, and I got good feedback. And I'm saying that not to brag, just to say that, now you're complimenting me for interviewing, but I was really sure I don't know how to interview, and I just know how to write, but interviewing is totally different. And
it's so interesting because the reason that you're good is that you are following your nudge. You're following your own interest, and you're thinking what is interesting for you. And that's why the conversation has been alive. I will tell you that I've had interviews that were more scripted, more written in advance, and they were not as fun for me, and I don't think it's valuable for the viewers and for the readers. So
yeah, so I think I've been saying all that just because I think people can take two things from it, maybe more, but one is what you've just said, that when we do something that interests us, that has value for other people, even when we don't realize it or we don't know that it will. Because I wanted to do the interviews for me, actually, and to give inspiration to other people. And I was postponing it, one, because of the fear, and two, because I didn't know what would be the benefit of it. And then I just decided to do it. So one, listen to your interests and your passion and your calling and your intuition. Everyone has different names for it, and it's, just go with your interest. Elizabeth Gilbert also talks about that. Don't look for your passion, follow your interest. Some of us, don't connect to the word passion, but we all have something we're interested in or curious about. And
exactly.
so that, and I lost connection. Yeah, the second thing was the fears. It's not that, they're not there. Like, usually I think when we want to do something, we're also afraid of it.
Yes.
That's something that's good to remember. So if you're afraid, that's a good sign.
Exactly.
Yeah, so go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautifully put.
Great. Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for this.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much. And we'll add the links and everything to your work.
Yeah. I actually want to encourage anyone who wants like that. It's the beautiful, excellent, fun, awesome books. I want to challenge you to read them, whoever is watching this, including you, Michal.
Do you have audiobooks for some of them?
Not yet. I actually like audiobooks very much. I will have one day, but not yet. I would say that the moment that you read the first book or the second book, you're hooked. I don't have many readers, but the few readers that I have continue from one book to the other. So they're really good. And it's not because of me. I'm just the channel. Something good is happening here. So I would really want to encourage you to go to Amazon and to Google Jonathan Kis-Lev, Kis-Lev, and I'll be happy to see you there.
Great. I'm going to read them too. So.
Super.
Okay, so everybody watching, have a great day, and thank you for watching.
Cheers.
Bye.